legislative in approving the law. If the government want to impose or amend an existing law related with the revenue, and then after that, um, the requirement by the government or executive to create the um, consolidated fund or to establish the consolidated fund, and then the next is on the expenditure that can be used from the consolidated fund that can be divided into two categories. So the charge expenditure, which is do not require the approval by the legislative, while the second category on the supply, which is require the approval by the um, legislative. And then the next is on the preparation of the budget, and then annual financial statement, which is uh, the government are required to deliver the financial statement uh, when they uh, spend or start the accounting activity. And then on the next is 102, 103. This is the expenditure. So beside the two category of expenditure, that is we call the common expenditure, the normal expenditure, while the 102 and 103 is more toward on the exceptional or special case. So which is beside the um, money that can be withdrawn for the purpose of the um, charge and supply. It also can be used uh, based on the 102 and 103. So 102 and 103. Okay, and then um, to make it ending of the financial management, that is the withdrawal of the money from the public fund. So you can see under 104, which is fall into three category. So uh, uh, on the A, so which is on the charge expenditure, which is that is without um, uh, legislative approval, and then for the 100, which is need to be authorized by the legislative, and based on the 103 on the contingency. Okay, so the next is on the audit. So requirement on the audit. So which is there are three main aspects on the audit that very very important on the appointment, power and report. So if you look here, they are not talk about the auditing, but requirement on the auditor general, which is this is the individual, not the institution, but the person, the auditor general. So because the main thing is on the auditor general. Auditor general is the person who are responsible on that matters. So therefore, they talk about the appointment, power, and report, not talk about the National Audit Department. National Audit Department is a government agency. So all the auditor in the public sector, they are part and parcel of the government machinery, government staff. Uh, but Auditor General is not part and parcel of the government. So they are the person who are responsible to audit the uh, government account. Okay, and then The next is on the 108, 109, 110. This is the financial responsibility for state government. So there is the federal responsibility on state government, which is stated under the Article 108, 109, and 1110. So this is due to the form of the federation. So because we are practice the federation, where the state surrender most of the power to the federal government, including the financial aspect. So therefore, um, to enable state can run their state well, so the federal government need to uh, um, provide the uh, financial assistance in terms of the grant and other type of the assistance. Okay, and then the last is on the borrowing. So where the government on to spend the money for the purpose of the development, especially, so the government can borrow under the Article 111 and 112. So, but the borrowing is based on the restriction. No directly can borrow, but need to be careful because it will affect the country as a whole. Okay, so there is the financial provision under the federal constitution. Okay, so we go to the second layer of the legal framework, that is we call the financial rules. Financial rules, or refer to act, but actually financial rule not just refer to the act. So there are three different level actually on the financial rules. So but mostly come in terms of act. So beside that, we also have the ordinance and the enactment. So financial ordinance, financial enactment. But mostly we do refer to the financial act, which is that is that can be imposed in Malaysia. So which is the financial act can be imposed for the whole nation. But if we talk about the enactment, it only applicable, can be imposed in a particular state where the enactment been approved. Okay, so first I would like to give you what are the difference between act, ordinance, and enactment. Okay, so the act is the rules or law that being approved by the parliament, Malaysia after independence. After independence means that the act that had been approved by the parliament starting with the 1957 onward. So that we call the act. So therefore, example, you look on your rules and regulation, you can see that in the page 15, sorry, in the page 16. So you can see that Law of Malaysia Act 61. So that is the number of the act, and then the name is Financial Procedure Act 1957. So means that that is the act that have been approved after Malaysian being independence. So that is the act. So if you look that another one is called the ordinance. Ordinance means that the act that passed by the parliament before independent or during the emergency before independent or during emergency. So therefore we have previously Internal Security Act, ordinance, emergency ordinance. So that is the ordinance. And then the third one is that we call the enactment. So enactment is the uh, um, rules that being passed by the state legislative. That is we call the enactment. So enactment is the rule or the law that have been passed by the state legislative. So, but as I said that since we are more focused on the Malaysian as a whole, so therefore, um, for the purpose of our discussion, we are referred to the act. Especially, there are two main act that related with the financial management and audit. That is, we call the Financial Procedure Act and Audit Act. So because in um, explaining what have been required by the Constitution on the financial matters, we need to have a more detailed, more clear, in order to determine who are responsible to and who will enforce that law. So the law, because the law, if on you need to understand the nature of the law. So the nature of the constitution, they only the written constitution. The written means that they are just appear in the books. So they need to be enforced by the person, by the individual, to realize that what have been there. So they need to be practiced. And to be practiced, we need to have the a person. And the person need to have the power, the authority. So therefore, power, authority, and so on, it come from the uh, constitution, but constitution did not specify. So, for example, we talk about the established on the uh, um, uh, consolidated fund under the Article 97. So the next question is um, how to establish, who are responsible to establish, and how to manage that fund. Are we just have the one general like that, or we need to categorize that uh, uh, um, fund according based on the sources and users of the fund? So that is the certain question that need to be in mind in order to realize or implement what have been stated or required by the constitution. So that matters are being interpreted and explained by the financial rules, which is the legislative will exercise that matters. So through the bill. So the bill, as we discussed in the previous topic, the bill basically it comes from the government. So the government with the particular ministry on the financial matter, of course, that is under the Ministry of Finance. So they will start drafting that matters with the help of the or Attorney General department, and then the draft, the bill that brought to the Parliament, and the Parliament will debate and so on, and then after that approve that matters. Okay, so this is the futures of the act. We need to understand the act must be consistent with the constitution, and then they must be approved by the legislative. So therefore, I say that if the legislative are at the federal, that we call the parliament, we call the act. But if the legislative are under the state, we call the enactment. And then the the point number 2 and point number 3 must be relate with that is must be consistent, and then when consistent means that the rules or the act need to be detailed out what have required by the constitution, and then the number 4 is to be enforced. So what had been stated in the constitution being realized, or we see that being enforced. Okay, so this is the two main act that established to explain the requirement of the constitution related with the financial management and audit. So on the financial management, that is being explained by the Financial Procedure Act, which is you can see on the top of that. Can you refer to the page 16? As I said, those who have the act together with yours, please refer to the page 16. And then at the very top of that, you can see that they are provide the purpose of the FPA. If you look at an act to provide for the control and management of the public finance of Malaysia. So there is the purpose of the act. So provide a guidance. So therefore, the term is very important. If you relate to the constitution not provide the guidance. The constitution provide the requirement. So the requirement, and then to ensure that the requirement of the constitution being followed, being realized, we need to have the guidance. That the guidance being provided through the act. So what kind of the guidance provide in the FPA is provide a financial and accounting procedure. Because when we talk about the requirement of the constitution, let's say Article 96, so just talk about the requirement to power of the parliament to approve the law. But under Article 97, establish of the consolidated fund. So of course, consolidated fund purposely to account all the collection and to account all the outflows. So how to account the collection? So they need to have the accounting procedure for collection. And after collection, we have custody. Bagaimana kita nak simpan on that money, public money, and then how to make a payment of the public money. So not just about the public money, but also procedure for related with the public properties. So because when we talk about the public sector management, financial management, it's not just dealing with the money, but also dealing with the properties. So therefore, we need to understand on that matters. And then the third one is authority for investment of money. So money in the consolidated fund, that can be make it for investment or not, and then how. So who have authority to make an investment? So that is the guidance that we can get from the Financial Procedure Act. And the second purpose of the FPA is to enforce. So to enforce the provision, untuk menguatkuasakan, if because the act or the law, the value of the law depend on the enforcement. So if we do not enforce the law, so it's useless. They are not useful. They just appear in terms of the writing only. But in the reality, there is no more, since there is no enforcement. So that is the two main purpose of the FPA. And this is the objective of FPA, which is we have a 7 objective on that matters. Among them, to provide guidance for control, provide financial and accounting procedure, guideline for collection custody, procedure for purchase, custody and disposal. So all talk about the procedure. So you can see that, which is, if you read from there, you already can expect that, of course, the FPA is more detailed as compared to the constitution. So the content of the FPA should be more detailed because they provide about the procedure, for example. So when we talk about the procedure, it should be more detailed because in the constitution, only the requirement. The requirement, for example, I give you the requirement. Okay, all of you need to answer the individual assignment. So need to answer individual assignment. So that is the requirement. So the requirement must come together with the procedure. So what are the term and condition or the requirement of the procedure? Procedure, you just answer one question in the format of this, due date, and so on. There is more detail of that matters. Okay, and then that is the content of the FPA. So if you refer to page 16, as I said that, the content of the FPA, we have the 5 part 1 to part 5, and then they have the 36 section. So from 9 article in the federal constitution, so now it being expanded to 36 section. So on the 9 article become the 36 section. So that you can directly imagine the obviously you can make a comparison between these in terms of the detail of the requirement. Okay, so under the part 1, that is the important for you is the section 3. Start with the section 3. That is the interpretation. So in the law term, they call interpretation. In the common term, we call the definition. But therefore, I say that when we talk about the law, so they have a specific terminology. So inside the section 3, you need to go through all the interpretation given because interpretation is important. That is, we talk about the term. What meaning of that in the context of the uh, um, public sector in Malaysia? For example, if you look on the matters is talk about the accounting officer. So what is the meaning the accounting officer? Consolidated fund. What are the meaning of the consolidated fund? And then financial authority. So what are the meaning of the financial authority? So similar to that, you look back on the public money. So in the next page 17, what means of the public money? So this is very, very important for you to understand the terminology, because you may previously know the term public money, but what a public money means that. So all this matter are provide under the section 3 of the FPA. So therefore I say that FPA are to explain the what have been stated or required by the constitution. So in the constitution, we never understand what meaning of the public money. So what are the consolidated fund? Okay. So and then on the part 2, accounting procedure, which is there are 2 sections. This is talk about the duties of the accounting officer. The duties. So because I said to you that the purpose of the FPA is to provide a detailed requirement. So now we need to, from there we see that who are responsible on the matters, and then what are the duties, because this is not stated in the constitution, but it support and consistent with the constitution. Uh, and then in the more provision, more matters are stated under the part 3, which is control and management of public finance. Because you look on the what I have been said earlier, what are the main purpose is to provide a detailed guideline about the control and financial and management of the public finance, which is there are starting with the section 6 to section 21. So please bear in mind when we deal with the uh, uh, A, we call the section and subsection. So do not use the article and clause, because in the um, A, we call the section and subsection. Okay, so I give you a simple thing about that. Can you look on the page 17 on the rules and regulation? So you look on the section 7. Section 7, that is, I give you simple, a good example. Section 7, you can see that the title of the section 7 is consolidated fund account, which is, if you refer back, flashback, that is the under the Article 97 also talk about the consolidated fund. So about consolidated fund. So that is, they talk about the same thing, but you can see under the section 7, they are talk about the 7A, 7B, 7C, which is here is talk about the what kind of account need to be managed under the consolidated fund. Consolidated fund not just stay alone like that, but consolidated fund need to be managed into 3 different accounts, and then the account have their own purpose. So we need to establish the CRA, we need to establish the CTA, and we need to establish the CLA. So that is consistent with the Article 97 on the consolidated fund, but it is more detailed. It is not against. So therefore, I see the FPA must be consistent and detail out the requirement of that. Okay, and then if you look on the part 4, so which is the section 22 to 35, that is consolidated with the part 3, which is the part 4. This is come together with the part 3. So therefore, if you look this state of the state financial and accounting procedure, so which is on the state need to be followed as what had been practiced by the federal, because the state, sorry, the financial matters are under the federal purview, under the federal power. So therefore, when we discuss the activities later in the part 2, so we can see that mostly we talk about the federal. Why we are not touched on the state? As I said, one of the reason is this, because the state need to be adopt the same thing as what have been practiced in the federal, related with the control and financial, control and management of the public finance. Okay, so there is the FPA, which is that is I have been explained to you before, which is, as I said, that this is example of the relationship between FPA and FC, which is if you look on that matters, you can see that how FPA are consistent with the FC and support the requirement of the FC. Okay, so the next is on the Audit Act. So you look on the next page, on the page 25. There is the second act that are provide the guidance related with the audit. So related with the audit. And then if you can see, most of that, they are talk about the AG, Auditor General. So talk about the AG, Auditor General. They are not talk about the NAD. As I say that, because in the Constitution, the main thing on the audit is not the office, but it's on the individual, not on the office. So because office actually provide support to the individual, provide support to the Auditor General. Auditor General do not exercise the audit. The audit being exercised or being examined by the auditor on behalf, but the responsibility are under the Auditor General. So therefore, the sign of that must be come from the Auditor General to show the responsibility, because that is the a requirement under the Constitution, under the Article 104, 105, and 106. So, and then you can see that in the Audit Act. So we take the example of the Section 4, remuneration of the Auditor General. So remuneration of the Auditor General under the Section 4, this is explained or detailed out the requirement of the Article 104, 105, Clause 4. So 105, Clause 4 and 5. So you, when you have together with you the rules and regulation, you can look side by side. So can you refer back to the 105 in the page one page 10. So you can see that on the 105. So you see here, this is talk about the Auditor General, and then you look on the clause 4. Parliament shall by law provide for the remuneration of the Auditor General. Okay, and then if you look on the section 4 of the Act, so they say that the remuneration of the Auditor General shall be as specified under the first and second schedule. The expression remuneration in this Act shall have the meaning assigned to the expression in Article 160 of the Federal Constitution. And all payment made under the first and second schedule shall be charged on the consolidated fund. So means that the remuneration of the Auditor General is part of the charge expenditure. So part of the charge expenditure. And then you need to understand what are the difference between charge and supply expenditure. So why important to put that under the charge expenditure, not under the supply? So this is the way how to understand that matters. And then if you look on the section 5 on the duties of the Auditor General, which is explained the 106. So 106 talk about the power and duties, and then you can see the duties. So have the section 5, subsection 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and 1E on that matters, and then F. So there is detail out the duties of the Auditor General. So the duties of the Auditor General. So for this particular, we have a specific topic on the audit in the part 3 letter that we will uh, discuss more detail. But here I just show to you the Audit Act, which is detailed out the audit requirement and procedure outlined under the Article 105 to 107 of FC. Okay, so this is what have been I made summarized to you. This is also similar to the same what I showed to you for the FPA, which is AA explain more detail the requirement of the constitution related with the Auditor General. So similar to the FPA, which is detail out the requirement of the constitution related with the financial management. Okay, so beside the two main act, which is why we see the two main act, because this act can be applied for all the government agency except for these two type of agency who enjoy the autonomy power. The first one is we call the local government. Local government, they are the state agency state agency who enjoy autonomy power, but local government do not follow the FPA, because FPA basically for the government agency who do not enjoy the autonomy power, while local government they are enjoy autonomy power. So therefore, their nature is a little bit different. So once they are different and they are enjoy autonomy power, there is a special act being approved by the parliament, that is we call the local government act. So local government act. So you look on the page 30 on your rules and regulation. So you can see that that is the local government act. So when once you talk about local government, inside that, so they have the detail out on the um, uh, which agency fall under the definition of the local government, which is I think most of you, not just you, but I foresee that when I search for the article, I read the article, certain author also confuse um, um, the difference between local authorities and local government. So because they are not really understand the difference between there, because they do not refer to the local government act. Uh, so that is important. First, we need to understand local government are bound by the local government act, and then they need to fulfill the definition or the interpretation provided by the local government act in order to determine whether that agency are uh, fall under the local government or just local authorities. Uh, so, and then for the local government, when we deal with the financial matters, their treatment is a little bit different. And then this matter, you can see we made a special part on this on the activities on accounting and reporting. So the rest we are not cover, since we actually we should cover, but um, due to the limitation of the time and so on, we just touch in general, and then on more specific, we look on the output because it easy for you to understand. Okay, and then the last one on the is the statutory body, uh, statutory body, SBA. So SBA, if you look from your rules and regulation, so you turn to page 44. You turn to page 44 of your rules and regulation. So this is the statutory body. So statutory body, if you look here, there is a federal statutory body. If LGA is our state statutory body, SBA is federal statutory bodies. So both have a specific act because they are enjoy the autonomy power. So when they are enjoy autonomy power, they are become the accounting entity. They itself is accounting entity. So therefore, relate back what we have discussed in the first topic on the accounting entity versus the organization entity. So versus the organization entity. So this is the special, and I said that These two we will touch in more detail under the topic financial accounting practice and financial reporting practice, because uh, that part is obvious. So the rest is more or less similar to that. Okay, so there is the second layer. So which is the first layer? We talk about the highest one is the constitution. The second layer is we call the financial rules, and the third layer is we call the financial regulation. So financial regulation is referred to the instruction, guideline, or circular. So they're approved by the administrative. Administrative here refer to the executive. So means that they only at the executive, because executive administer the financial matters in Malaysia. And then this is the nature, which is they are detail of explanation as compared to the uh, um, um, uh, act. So this one is more detailed. And why it is important? Because they are detail out the legal requirement and make the current policy. So in simple, this is the guideline that need to be followed by the government staff, or we call the government machinery, in order to deliver their day-to-day duties. To deliver day-to-day duties. For example, for the accountant, they need to record. So when they want to record, both the upper sources, the what I mean upper sources is referred to the Constitution and Act, do not provide on the day-to-day. For example, under the uh, uh, um, FPA, they just thought we need to establish 3 accounts. So under the 3 account, they don't have the detailed explanation. So because come to day, the government collect the money from the various sources. For example, the government collect the money from the individual based on the income. That is we call the income tax. So income tax, um, where should we account the income tax? Because we have a 3 different account. Where should we account? We need to account into CRA, CLA, CTA, because inside that they do not provide the detailed guideline on that. So the detailed guideline will provide through the regulation. So normally in terms of the circulars and instruction. So therefore, it exists in terms of the TI, Treasury Instruction, Treasury Circular, and Treasury Circular Letter. So on the Treasury Instruction, I do not provide in the rules and regulation because it is too lengthy, so many pages. You can search for yourself in the Google engine. You search for the Treasury Instruction, or if you want to buy, for those who are UUM, if you can go to my room, you can look, you can see the Treasury Instruction. So it costs around 30 ringgit to buy that matters. Um, Treasury circulars, you can see that Treasury circular inside your rules and regulation. Um, there is example of the Treasury circular. You can look on the page um, 52, all in bahasa, because this is the official document. Official document, normally the government publish official document in Bahasa. And then you ask me, why we have English version for the ad? So the ad, because they are passed in the early days of our independence. So you can see that the local government act, the um, um, financial procedure act, they are passed in the early days, which is during that time we still depend on the British system. So therefore, we have that matters. But if you look on the last page of that, I provide also the Supply Act 2020. Supply Act 2020, we have a two version, English version and Malay version. I photocopy for you an English version, because normally when we have the act normally provide in two version, English and Malay. But uh, it is different with the um, regulation. Regulation, because they are under the administrative. So under the administrative, and then administrative, normally they are subject to the government of that day, which is we need to use our national language, Bahasa Malaysia. But there are three different level of the FR. What are the difference between these three? Treasury instruction, treasury circulars, and treasury circular letter. So treasury instruction, this is the instruction provided by the treasury. Why treasury? Because if you remember in the first part I already talked, treasury is the heart of our financial system. They are the central agency who are entrusted with the um, matter related with the financial. So treasury circulars, this is the circular that provide on yearly basis. This is to deal with the current situation. So current situation every year, this matter letter we can see in the first activity on the budget, which is when we talk about the budget formulation, it must come with the circulars. Circulars deal with the current needs. So that is the circulars. And then treasury circulars letter, this is to deal with a specific requirement. For example, in the 2020, on the 2020, when we facing the COVID, so we need to spend the money for the COVID. But previously we didn't deal with the COVID. So therefore, to deal with the current needs, which is unexpected, so the treasury will provide the guideline through the circular letter. Okay, so this is the features of the circular, and then you can see that matters what I have been explained to you. This TI, and then this is the TC, treasury circular letter. This matter, you need to upload for yourself in the um, um, Google. So around 80 pages, but as I said that, all in Bahasa, all in Bahasa. Okay, and then the last one is on the accounting standard. So accounting standard, this is normally the standard provided by the accounting body. And then in Malaysia, for the public sector, they are under the Accountant General Department. So under the Accountant General Department. So, and then the purpose of the accounting standard is to provide the format and disclosure for harmonization of the reporting. So that is the purpose. Because therefore, basically, once we talk about the practice applicability, the most we can refer is the guideline. That is the one, the Treasury Circular. So this one is for the preparation of the report, financial report and the disclosure. Why? Because financial report and disclosure, we need to be harmonized to achieve the comparability quality. Comparability quality, because the purpose of that is to enable the users in making the benefit from the information generated in the statement. And then in Malaysia, public sector, we have the MPSAS, MPSAS, MPERS. So this is being implemented by the both local government and statutory bodies. So while the federal and state still use PPK, because until 2021, so we still practice the MBS. Modified cash basis MCB instead of um, accrual base. But for the local government and statutory body, they are practice the accrual base. So therefore, they are follow the MPSAS and PERS. MPSAS for the local government and PERS for the statutory bodies. Okay, so and then this is the summary of the financial management legal requirement. So you can see that this is the sequence. So start with the top, namely the constitution, and then followed by the that we call the rules, and then the regulation and the standard. So this is the hierarchy. When you understand the meaning of the hierarchy means that the lower should not against the higher. So the lower should not against the higher. If the lower are against the higher, they will null. They will null. Why? So that is the requirement. So for example, if you talk about MPSAS, they are actually support the regulation, especially on the format for the presentation. So they are not against. If they are against, they are void. Okay, so there is the references you can refer, and then that's all for the topic 3, and then that's all of the part 1. So I hope can understand. The next, we will go to the first activity, that namely the budgeting. So the budgeting. So I think that's all for today. Yeah, who's speaking? Apa? Okay. What the question for? Individual assignment. I think if you want to talk about individual assignment, you can raise the question in the WhatsApp group. Can you raise on that matters? Because today we focus on the lecture, on the topic of the lecture today. Okay, any question, class, on the what we have covered in the topic 1?
Doctor,
Yeah.
I
Who's-
just want to Izzuddin.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify, is the government machinery equals to government